As long as the dogs don't go
Absolutely crazy.
we'll be good. So, I want to do a little talking because you got some ties to these hound dogs, but you're way more than a dog man. So I want to talk about where you got started and your love for the hounds. And then I want to talk about this trip you just made to all the Ben Lilly country.
Well, how I got into dogs is, my grandfather on my mom's side, Ralph Stevenson, he had hounds when I was young. But and his cousin was Gus Lannergan, and that's where Grandpa got his dogs. Of course, I didn't know what kind of guy Gus Lannergan was, but he was a government hunter over in Humboldt County, and he has their scalp receipts for 3,000 bears.
Holy moly!
Yeah, and when I was a kid, in high school, I went and interviewed him for my English paper. So I went up to Gus's. He was retired, old, and there'd been some bears in his apple trees that morning, and he says, I've killed enough of them. He said, I kind of just let them do as they please, it don't bother me. But smaller kind of guy, nice guy. My granddad, like I said, Ralph Stevenson there in Humboldt County, he got out of the dogs probably in about 78, 79, somewhere in there. My other granddad, that he was actually born in Canada, but him and his dad and them, they worked the wheat run. They would go down to Texas, Oklahoma, and then make it all the way back up to Canada. Then they ended up come down and they lived in the South, and I can't remember exactly where, but then they came to California, both sides of my dad's family in the Dust Bowl. So then my family lived down on the Glen Ranch, Glen Air, down on Highway 45 down south of Hamilton City, and he hunted down there. I've got some old pictures of him with some hounds, and then both my dad, he became a government trapper when about 78. He started in Humboldt County, and who had got them the job, my uncle Darrell Fry, he was correspondent. He would correspond with Wiley Carroll, and he would correspond with Steve Mathis and Hoyt Short and a bunch of them other old guys, and he became friends with them. And Steve Mathis set him up with a couple dogs, and he also got him a job with the government. That's who spoke up for him.
That's where he got his start.
And that's where we got the foothold. And Steve gave him a couple dogs and was instrumental, in helping that get started. Uncle Darrell worked in Harney County then, and then he went on to Elko later on, and that's where he retired from. But we kind of always had, we had some mostly trapline dogs. They might be, we always had hounds, but growing up we had trapline dogs, and a lot of them were McNabb crosses.
Define that, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't know what trapline dog is.
When you got a trapline dog, the ones we had were kind of terrier crosses, terrier hound, kind of different McNabb. Some good McNabbs, and terriers, but just kind of anything that would work, when you're riding along, you say you have a trap on a drag or something, you want something to be able to trail it up. But, a lot of them times, them smaller terrier kind of McNabbs and stuff, they wouldn't run something out of the country on you. So you could work along and get them going.
We should probably, I apologize, I don't know how much these dogs are coming through, but we are sitting in the middle of a field at the Elk Creek field trial, so there is no place quiet to do this. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're in a camper or if you're sitting out in the middle of all of them, it's about the same sound.
But yeah, so, a bunch of them kind of trapline dogs, and when I kind of had different ones, there were some Airedale crosses and hound, crosses and things. And some of them dogs would be good for going in a den and retrieving out coyote pups, things like that. That's kind of where them guys started using them terriers more. And And then, they would be aerial hunting with the government, and we'd use dogs under the plane to catch cripples or mostly with that.
Yeah.
If anything happened, to be able to take care of all that. I had my fair lamb money up. My dad was trapping out of Lakeview, Oregon. And we stayed up there. We lived in Valley Falls. And we had some hound crosses there and some pure hounds and, different terriers and things. But I took my lamb money and I bought this walker dog, pup. It was, the guy's name was Alvy Payton. You know Alvy Payton.
I know Alvy, yep, and his son Cricket.
And I took that money and went and bought one of his dogs, which were as close to Charlie Tant walkers at the time, I think, as there was going. I could be wrong, but I remember I bought that pup there, and then right soon after that, we moved right down here to Orland. Dad was this is where both our grandparents were from, so Dad got a job back here in Glenn County, and right about then, we started. My Uncle Darrell went back and he'd bought a mountain cur, Kimmerstock, and found out that they were just natural decoy for coyotes, and they would cold trail too. And Uncle Darrell was hunting with one of his lion hunters. There was Richard Holcomb, who was good old Southwestern guy. He worked. He went hunted with Dale Lee and guided with them guys, and and them dogs could cold trail with them dogs, and so we kind of bred off that. But for hound wise, I've hunted quite a bit of different things at different times, but I've always kept Kimmerstock. I've always kept pure dogs, but the hounds I've got right now, I've got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Just
a mixed pack.
Yeah. I mean, no, there's some Plott and Walker and they're mostly Plott, Walker, and Black and Tan. I got some crosses that were Boone Shockley stuff. I got some stuff that we'd crossed with some. It's a big Walker name. I can't think of the name of it though.
You'll remember when we're done.
Yeah, I'll remember. But I've been hunting some of them and different things. But that's kind of where I'm at with dog wise. I've always got a terrier with me, but
it was crazy because honestly, like all the years I never knew you were related to Darrell. Like up until just fairly recently, which his podcast, that was recorded. It's been a little while now, but everybody, we got a lot of feedback on that one because he's an interesting man.
Oh yeah.
Is he still hunting?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's still. Yeah, he's hard to keep down. I will say that. He's wiry. But he's a hard hunting. We when I was a kid, I'd stay out there and out of Elko, and we started decoying those coyotes, and the government wanted to kind of show a video of these things to different guys, and show them how this could work and stuff. So we spent a month out there, pretty much just hard calling, and it was one of the best months of my life. But we stayed kind of up around Jackpot. We were up, not all the way to Jarbridge, but then we hunted kind of from Wells, Death area, all in that country, and we're working on the sheep. And I don't remember who he was trapping on. It might have been Pete Paris. I believe it was Pete Paris up there, and we had such a time.
And a decoy dog,
okay.
We got to kind of break it down, but that's a dog that you're calling coyotes.
Yep.
Or
them dogs, they get to where you get out and howl, and you get a coyote to answer you. If you got a dog loose and a coyote answers you, a lot of times, depending on the time of year, but you better get sat down because they might be in your lap before you know it. They get a little different with dogs, and once those dogs figure out that when they come back to you, bringing that coyote, that they're going to get their teeth into something, they really learn it.
They
look
go
for
out
you.
And round them up like those coyotes. They just follow those dogs.
you can watch them, and them dogs will be watching those coyotes out of the corner of the eye running. And if the coyote stops, the dog will stop. And then them dogs learn how to read those coyotes, because, some of them dogs, if they're too gritty, they'll just run a coyote right out of the country. They'll just keep going. They don't know that if they stop and that coyote chases them back, that they'll come back to you. Some of those guys, they'll put a flag up, or they'll put a crow or something where them dogs learn to be able to see them. Sure. They know exactly where they're at, and they come to that because they're hid, so they'll be able to locate them and know where they're coming better.
Right into gun range.
And all it is being it's a territorial deal with coyotes. Canines are canines to them, and during certain times of the year, whether they got pups in the ground or pups out of the ground, they're more aggressive or less aggressive, kind of a deal. Certain times of year, coyotes will run the dogs right up underneath you. And you might be on your horse, and they'll run it right up underneath you, and other times, they even see a dog, and you'll see them going over the next ridge, leaving the country. But the right time of year is the best, Right. It's exciting. So yeah.
And then you've been on a big tour, though. You were down in some beautiful country recently.
Well, depending, I do guide. I've been guiding, for Jared Trevort out of Utah, but we guide in Utah, and we guide in Wyoming and Colorado and New Mexico. I'm trying to think. In Idaho, right? Yeah. If I didn't say that, we'd guide out of Montpelier.
Yeah.
And then we'd go and we'd guide the wilderness out of Cody into the Bridger Teton going into Yellowstone. I spent 6 seasons up there, and it was amazing.
What were you guiding for up there?
We were guiding elk mostly, but then there was quite a bit of deer there during the snow. They would be migrating through, and then we had a few wolf hunters.
Yeah.
But we weren't successful with a wolf there. I did call in a few, tested them. It was. And
you're packing in, you're like mule training in, right?
Yep. We take about 35 head of horses and mules and pack in there for about 2 months.
Man.
And one season, me and Jared stayed there the whole season, never went to town once.
Oh, that'd be the life.
It's pretty weird to come back to civilization. It's like, takes you about 3 days to get rid of your cell phone. Feral, 3 days.
That's how I feel. Even when you take off for a week or whatever, it's like, man, you don't want to come home.
Yeah. Yeah, that country there is littered with wolves and grizzlies. I mean, that's where I take my little terrier. And funny thing about those grizzlies is she'd bay them, and they would mostly ignore her.
Really?
Never line her out. If they turned at all and made a move to go the other way, she would nail them, and they'd woof.
Just quick, huh?
Yep. They'd woof, but they would never really ever come at her hard. Although we watched one time, she was chasing a bear at a camp, and it went across the creek, and when it got up the bank, there is a big meadow up there. It turned around and crouched down, waiting for her, and she was coming out. We were all watching, and she couldn't see it. And I mean, a foot before she got up that side, she turned around, and went down. I guess she could tell it was that close. It was laying and waiting. We're like, oh my! But yeah, I had her in there for 6 seasons, and she made quite the name. That little terrier, Lucy, she made quite the name for herself. I remember the Forest Service come through. The trail crew came through, and the lady says, "Is that Lucy?" And I go, "Well, how would you know that?" And she goes, "Oh, she's famous in Thoroughfare." And I was like, "Really?" "Oh, she's been known in different camps." I was like, "My gosh."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but they, they were different. They wouldn't. I know black bear would have been pestered just a little bit to just chase one down.
Right.
But they were a little different. So, but yeah, I've been fortunate. I did work for the government. I started in Arizona when I was 21. I just turned 21. And I was camped on a place called Dobson's, which it's all housing. It's all it's a development right now. And I was just trapping on winter sheep and just coyotes. they would temp fence all the alfalfa south of Phoenix, and then they would just run. The herders would just stay there. But boy, we had some rough coyotes in there. Yep, rough coyotes. And then right after that, I went to work for the government up in Colorado. I stayed out of a little town called Walcott, near Vail. So I stayed there for a summer in some beautiful country. It was the Piney Valley Ranch. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I haven't.
Tread Barta would hunt on there quite a bit.
Oh, yeah? That's a guy to look up if you want to see some interesting stuff.
My gosh.
I know a buddy that took him.
Really?
Yep.
The Tread Barta way. What's the wrong way and the right way and the Tread Barta way? But yeah, he would guide on that ranch for this TV show. But he mostly would guide. He would hunt on there. He was hunting doe. He was hunting doe on there. A management deal, harder to hit. Different things and. But that was the ranch. It was 30,000 deeded acres. That's humongous. And I had to take one bear there, but a lot of coyotes. Well, no, actually, there were coyotes, but there weren't that many. But just about every one of them was a bad killer.
Yeah.
In Arizona, there was so many coyotes, but there was only a handful of bad killers. But up there, and it kind of differs, I guess, in different places. And, different things.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. As of late I've been still doing some guiding. I've been guiding some lion hunts out of down around Zion and trying to think, the Vermilion Cliffs, and then over on the Kaibeb Plateau side. So those, there's actually quite a few cats down there. Yeah, I was pretty surprised. It was fairly good trailing. It's actually this time of year. This time of year is when we would hunt down there. So wasn't real stable conditions.
Conditions.
Be freezing. Snow tonight maybe, and then just be muddier than heck, and then be dry as a bone, and nothing stable. But it was some good hunting there.
And that's what makes it, right? If you can get conditions, no matter how good or bad they are, if they're stable.
Stable is what you could be trailing along, and depending on if it's things are evaporating up or something, and hit a dry, hit that hillside that's dry. Or the worst thing we come across down in that country was that blow sand, which just is nothing. It just you can see that track going across there, but
there's no sand.
There ain't nothing left,
it's
especially there's nothing really to hold it. But them stable conditions, that's what I found is the best. The freeze thaw stuff is the hardest, but that's when you can get more of those tags then. So they know it's harder. They can give out more tags, make a little more money, and hopefully get some of that. And those are more of a management one, I believe. They put those ones that they really needed in worse for predation and things on those lions. But yeah.
So if you had to pick a piece of game, what's your favorite piece of game to hunt? Dogs, without dogs, regardless.
Well, lions is pretty much where where my heart lies. You know what I mean? That's kind of, and it didn't help reading that Majestic Houndsman on Lee Newhart Jr. every single month, and just have a picture of a few pups of Majestics, but he always had the best stories. He had Lee Brother stories, or he had different stuff on cool stuff. So that kind of got me going, and knowing Steve Mathis and knowing Wiley Carroll, those guys were real super
real deal,
and Uncle Darryl, he still has letters from those guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he he'd ride all these old. There was a bunch of old guys he would ride. But
They're super interesting guys. Well, like
yeah,
Mathis,
yeah,
that Brave book that had been out since the 80s,
yeah.
and everybody couldn't find them, and then we found cases of them we bought from his
Isn't that
granddaughter.
it's just crazy?
And the coolest part was now it's like people can get them.
Yeah,
and they can
it needs
read
to
them.
be.
It needs to be passed around because those guys, they're a dying breed anymore. I mean, they're all getting up there in age, and you got to think back then. You went hunting. You just started walking.
Yeah, them guys.
Now it's everything so broke up, and
them guys didn't. If they didn't come back in a month, that was part of the game to them.
Right.
They and I know we've talked about it. And Dad was trapping down in Cochise County, down in Arizona. Lived in Wilcox, and boy, I tell you that. I remember it's the first lion that I saw in Arizona. Was it was up? We could see Tombstone from just about the place that we took it.
really?
There was a lady down there. She had a ranch. Her name was Peggy Monzingo, and she lived in the middle of the rocks up there in the Dragoons, up above Tombstone, and she had it was great butterflies and hummingbirds at certain times of year, and she had a lot of cactus flowers and things, so she would put up guests there, and she had some lions killing, and me and Sam Derringer, it was like July, hotter than blazes, and we went in there, and gosh, I was a kid, I was probably 18, and we were trailing up there, and I remember we come up on this shady side of the rim there, and he said, this would probably be where they jump it. And sure enough, we were jumped and treed in probably 5 minutes after that. But
like the Derringers know something about catching lions, right?
Yeah.
You pretty much named every big name you can think of in 15 minutes, Garrett.
Yeah, I'm a name dropper.
Hey, that's all right. They get their name drop for a reason.
Good a family as I know, I don't, them guys are just good people. Me and Sam went to work for the government at about the same time, and he's a tiny bit older than me, but good people. And that country down there, I know I'm in the footsteps of some of the greats. I hope that I've planted my foot in the same spot some of them greats have.
Right.
That really intrigues me.
I remember messaging you, and you were down there, and that's what you said. I'm taking the path Wiley Carroll took her. It's like and that country is so different than anywhere else. I know I love listening, like when Brett talks about hunting down there in New Mexico and the Arizona guys. It's so different.
Yeah.
And it's different dog. It's totally, and it's a different man behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's the thing is they're tough as nails, and they ain't got an ounce of quit in them to go off into that country and just
that's
disappear.
That hard, where it's frozen solid in the morning and you are stripping clothes off by 10 o'clock, and it'll suck the sap out of you down there.
Yeah.
You question your sanity. Yeah.
It's worth it, though.
It definitely is. Gosh, yes.
I know. I would love to get down there and go do some dry ground because it's so different. For us here, you go out at night and you don't get a track going. That's a rough night.
Yeah.
When you're hunting lions, I mean, you got to be on it. And if they aren't there, you got to find them.
Yes.
And that's the thing is you guys cover so much ground to catch anything down there, it seems like.
Yes, there's, I wouldn't say I found that them lions, and I don't know as much as I'm letting on probably, but I've seen lions walk further in other places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
as far as traveling,
yep.
Big circles.
Yeah, and a lot of times them, most of the time I see them really traveling as if they've got on a road and they're going to somewhere. And I've seen times where I've been at this mountain range with water on it, and I can see 5 miles away is the next mountain range, and there's a big flat in between, but they have that in mind.
Yep.
Hopefully you can get ahead and cut them off fresher,
Sure.
instead of going through that flat. But not all the time they're not beelining either. So, yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of work by the houndsman, more so in that style of hunting than like when I go. I just turn dogs loose and the dogs are doing the work. But it seems like that dry ground stuff, you're helping them.
You catch up to your dogs a lot more.
Yeah.
And dogs that don't know how to get through those rims are a hindrance. When I remember I was hunting with Garrett down there in Utah, and we were watching on the GPS, and that was just when the GPS collars were. In fact, we didn't have them here yet. And I watched his dog go up the hill, and then they both went left for about a half a mile, went up the next hill, and came all the way back and hit that track again. But they knew if they found a place to get up that rim, that they could come back and catch that track again. But that's just from experience.
Learning how to get through it.
And learning and dogs can go up a crag, mountain, rocks, cliff way better than they'll ever come down them.
Sure.
They just keep going up, but to get them to come down is a lot different story. And you end up getting up there, and that's one thing about hunting pups. And I have found it down there, and you got to have rope when you're hunting down there for sure.
Yeah.
And be able to drop them dogs down. But that country is pretty intriguing. But yeah, I've been definitely blessed. I've been around a few great guys and great women in the hound world, and there's a certain camaraderie, Even if I've never met a hound man, I kind of know he's not real smart, But no, know that right off the bat.
Like I said, I didn't even know you were related to your uncle. And we just got, honestly, you're one of the first people when I started coming down here that, we hooked up with and got talking. We've stayed in touch, but this is probably one of 2 times a year we might see each other.
Right.
Here in the CHC banquet we'll usually hit. And you do all the auctioneering for them half the time. And
yeah.
It's really cool. Like this field trial, I really hope that these dogs barking isn't going to completely screw this whole thing, because it is a huge event. Like especially this year is huge. It seems like.
Yeah,
I mean, there's dogs tied out. We got 1, 2, at least 3 rows of campers.
If there's 300 dogs here, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I think there's probably at least that.
It's a good. And, I've been coming to this. In fact, me and the ranch owner, Charles, we would hunt bears when I was in high school.
Yeah.
When, we just moved down, and me and Charles, and old George Hackett, we went and caught a bear. It was the first bear I'd seen. I was 13 years old. We didn't live in bear country. We lived up in Lakeview, and Dad was just trapping coyotes and decoying then, so we didn't have any bear. But when we got down here, me and Charles hooked up, and they didn't have then they started having the field trial. About then we used to have a water race down there, and
right down here at the main pond.
We had a big water race there for several years.
No kidding.
Yeah, and practices, and it was a good time. Whitney's have been good.
Oh, these guys have been so great over the years. They let us use this every year. They just open up their property. This is a huge event.
Yes. There's the big Calcutta and a fundraiser, and there's a pretty good set of people here with no dogs that just do not miss it. Yeah.
Hear old stories.
Yep.
I know it's nice to get together, because this is where the old timers come too.
They do.
Like if you want to talk to old school houndsmen around here, they're just sitting around and telling stories all day, and
and we're losing them. We're definitely losing them.
Unfortunately.
One of my old buddies who I hunted with probably more than anybody was George Flournoy, and he was a lion hunting some of a gun. And me and George, I was the last one to hunt with him. We was I think we was trailing a fox, but it might not have been. But we were, George said, he goes, I got to go to the doctor. My heart. I said, I said, I noticed you've been a little sleepy lately, and things. And he goes, I said, my granddad, when his heart was going bad, he was not getting that. And he goes, yeah, I think so. And that was on a Friday or a Saturday, and his appointment was Monday, and he died either Saturday or Sunday. I don't. It was the day right before he had that, but whether they could have saved him, I don't know. But I learned a wealth. He hunted a lot with Ray Nelson. He hunted. He worked the lion study on the bighorn, California bighorn sheep out of the Kings River country for like 15 years. I could be wrong, maybe a little longer. When I first started hunting with him, he just got done doing that, and he still had a set of lion dogs that were as good as they get, And we were guiding bear hunts, and he kept one side full of lion dogs and one side full of bear dogs. And I can remember towards the end, he started using these lion dogs again on bear, but it was kind of, and he had some great dogs. Him and Ray Nelson did breed quite a few dogs together, and Jim Bueller. But more Ray Nelson stuff.
It was pretty tight knit.
Yep.
With those guys. I mean, I know we all think we're tight knit now, but back then, I mean, you had to go out of your way to be in touch with houndsmen. It's not like Facebook now.
Oh,
I mean, we can all keep in touch across the country. Used to be you had to write letters and you had to just show up somewhere and
and
go hunt.
Wait till one of them old guys made it back to a post office somewhere. That we definitely we are blessed to have the technology we have to be able to keep in touch. Yeah, it's a lot different. Those old houndmen were a way different breed. I think mine is a lifelong commitment, but those guys, it was everyday living, and them guys, they just did it. I don't know. They
didn't have a choice.
I guess.
They were knee deep in it from the word go. I mean, it was a way of life, more so than even us. We all feed dogs every day and whatever, but we got day jobs and we go do that. Those guys were just hunting, and that was it.
And there's so many great houndsmen that we have never heard about and will never ever hear about that could have had the best pack in the world.
Right.
You wouldn't know it because they didn't have, the right, and maybe they didn't want it,
Maybe.
But definitely there's some greats that don't ever get mentioned.
Yeah. Well, just think of local. I mean, a lot of the guys you grew up around, I mean, they're pretty big names, but everybody's got that one guy, even local. It doesn't matter if, most of them aren't on Facebook, but it's there's always that guy. You just got to find them. They're usually the quiet ones.
Yep.
Just look for the big circle and the soft-spoken ones. They usually got the best stories.
Yeah. It's funny how that works, The guys that don't need their horn tooted, somebody else will toot it for them.
Yep.
And the ones that, now there are guys, I would say just from reading the Lee brothers books that I would not get along with Dale Lee at first.
Sure.
It'd take a while. He's pretty rough, and according to his book, he could, whip his weight in Wolverine. There wasn't nobody could get him. But in a way in his book and stuff. But
I know I love these old Dale Lee podcasts that are. Brett Brock, because you get to listen to him tell the stories. Yeah, I don't know. He seems like he might be a little rough to get along with.
Yeah. Oh, no kidding. He, but he'd put 50 hounds together and go south of the border and live it, and just amazing. Yeah, them guys. They And I also heard Clell was way better hunter than Dale, but didn't have the press agent that Dale did.
Well, of course.
But that's all hearsay. But them guys definitely did it. They and I think Warner Glenn has had some publicity, but it'd be tough to find a better set of dogs and hunter than the Glenns. They don't hunt much other than right close to home. They're
still protecting.
Yeah, they stay right there, and they don't go all over the world hunting. But they have. But they pretty much stay close, and
Yeah.
and I had never have met him. I'd like to.
Yeah, he's still. I know Clay Newcomb was just down there
Really.
hunting with him, and it's been interesting to kind of like do this podcast and get to talk to everybody, and you still hear like generations down the line, like the hold that those old guys have.
Yeah.
It's like they are a different breed, and just listening to the way they do things, we all think we got it figured out now. We got technology on our side, we got time, but man, I love listening to those old guys talk dogs.
Oh,
I
man.
hope tonight, once we get some dogs quieted down and, we get to talk to some old timers around here tonight, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of experiences.
You don't even want to add
here.
up the years of experience
my goodness.
here. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Plus, and you got that all the way down to kids.
Yep.
I mean, babies.
And I have seen a lot of these youngsters grow up and keep hounds.
Yep. In a state, I mean, honestly, in California, in a state, it is not easy to keep dogs.
This is the most hostile environment to hunt a dog, and would I say don't let anybody get a dog just because you don't understand the kind of heartache you're going to have in California, but would I deny them that experiences that I've had just because of that? I don't know. You raise this puppy, and it's it's come from a lot of good stuff, but you still don't know what it's going to be. And the first time it opens on a track or pops its tail or shows any sort of game, it's what you've lived for. It's the spark that gets you. And I still get it. You're wondering what they're going to do, and when they make a dog, it's and I've had dogs. I hope to always have dogs. It's definitely part of me.
Yeah, once it's in you, it's hard to.
I've seen a few people get out, and I wonder how, but they manage it. To me, it'd be a little tougher.
Most of them I know, they get out and then they get back in.
Yeah.
They just want they just got to start all over again.
Yeah. And maybe that's a good thing, a restart, a reset.
I feel like that shows you a real dog man too, though. When you can get rid of everything you own and take your time, and a lot of guys do. I mean, heck, there's families, there's jobs. I mean, there's all kinds of outside influence that can ruin hunting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And to see him come back and build a pack again, back. I mean, that...
Yeah.
Our listeners know, but
yeah,
most people don't understand what it takes to make a dog, let alone a pack of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
talking to, George Flournoy, he would hunt the bounty lions before 72, I believe, in these mountains right here. This was he's showed me places that he found scratches as a kid that them cats are still scratching.
They're still there.
And he would say, hey, we're going to go down this ridge right here, and there will be a scratch right here. And sure enough, it's been that way for, thousands of years, I'm sure.
Sure.
Every once in a while, those scratches will get disturbed just enough that they never visit him again, or, that lion had been... They ain't alive anymore, but he would go up there and hunt right in these mountains, right back here, and that's where he said his dad bought him a good old hound, and I can't remember what hound man it was from here, but that's when he started catching lions, and then he forever, till he passed, he still had something to catch a lion. Yeah, that was an old...
And his family still hunts too, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I know his kids a little bit.
Yeah. His son, Young George, lives in Reno, and he's guided a lot. He's big into sheep hunting.
Yep.
In fact, one of George Sr.'s last big hunts, they I believe it was in Nevada. Young George drew a tag, and George packed back in there with him, and they harvested a nice sheep. it was short sleeve weather. I remember that. I remember the pictures. George had on a short sleeve shirt, but yeah, they packed him out of there. But yeah, they'd been. He's been around a lot.
Yeah.
George has.
Why don't you say again, what's the guide service you're running for, Garrett?
Well, I work for Jared Trevort. I believe it's American West Outfitters, but I started with him in Idaho, and then that same year we went to up to Wyoming after that, and then we've kind of guided all over the West. Yeah. Good stuff. Do elk and deer and lions and bear is pretty much all we've done. But he's another one of them quiet guys, and we'll get Tony Blue out of Levan. He'll come and because if we got to catch a lion, that's who you call.
Yeah, right.
And he's a friend, and I got a kind of a funny story because Tony will work the road crew all summer and then lion hunt all winter. And he was down there, and he knew there was a dinosaur track. And these road crew, they knew he's always checking the washes and different things for tracks, And
sure.
He's seen some guys there, and he goes, he says, I think there's a track over here. And he walks over there upside of the road, and there's a dinosaur track, like a big bird track in some sediment there.
Right.
And fossilized. And he goes, yeah, I thought there was a track here, But he's one of those good, quiet guys that if you want to catch something, that's who you have with you. And it definitely, somebody's got to toot his horn for him.
Because he won't toot it.
Nope. Yeah, he's, and yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to keep you all day. I know you got your family here. We got a lot going on. You're a popular guy.
Yeah. But I appreciate it. Yeah.
I always enjoy catching up with you. I'm hoping there's going to be some six-string strumming here in a little bit.
There probably will be.
What's the name of the band? Throw it out there.
It's Garrett Fry and the Cowboy Charm Band.
You can find them on Facebook if you want some good cowboy picking.
Yeah, I do some lives there, and I kind of play all over the place. So
you're like the American Story right there. Like, oh yeah, we just go in on mule trains and strum a six-string. But
here's the deal. I don't ever really. That's why with the government, I only took temp jobs. And I'm afraid of commitment in that way because. It drives me crazy. Once in a while, I'll go punch a clock somewhere, and it don't. But so I kind of sacrifice a lot of stuff. I do my trail riding all summer long up in Mount Lassen. So that's Hawks Rest Trail Rides. I'll plug that one too.
Yeah,
But me and my wife have been running that. We're going our 5th season this year. So you want to come up for a
where can they find
trail ride? That's right up out of in between Red Bluff and Chester, California. It's up at Mount Lassen.
And they can find you on Facebook or something to set up a trail ride?
Hawks Rest Trail Rides. And it's at a place called Highlands Ranch. And, but yeah, I sacrificed my retirement, but.
But why you want to enjoy all that when you're old? Enjoy it now.
Exactly. But yeah. But thank you.
No, thank you, Garrett. It was nice to catch up with you.
Yeah.
I'm sure our listeners will enjoy it, even with Billy's barking dogs.
Yeah, I sound like I was rambling, guys. So if you need the long version, ask me a question about any of it. But anyhow, yeah, it's been an honor.
Well, thank you, bud. I appreciate you coming on with me.
Yeah, and keep doing what you're doing.
We're going to try.
You're going to be where are you going to be?
Oh, I'm leaving Wednesday for Wisconsin. We just got back from Idaho. We're here this weekend. It's that time of year. It's nice. You kind of get all your traveling done in one chunk.
Good.
And I got my boys here with me this trip, so this is their first big trial, and it's been fun. But it's about to get funner. Sun starts going down, everybody starts barbecuing, and
my old dad, Bill. He trapped for the government forever. Bill Fry. I just want to make sure he knows that I know why I still have dogs to this day. His dad is, he's been everywhere. He went hunting down in Mexico. went down there to work. He went down there and after he retired for the government, went down there hunting lions and came home afoot. Stole his truck, stole everything he had.
No
Come
kidding.
home on the Greyhound.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then Uncle Daryl had to go down there and spring him out, get the rest of his stuff. And yeah, it's a story in itself. But
that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, you'll have to podcast him.
That's how we keep it.
Yeah. Anyhow, thank you, Jason.
Oh, thank you, Garrett.